All right, Rishi, I want to share with you a very fascinating story that I read a few years ago. And actually, it's one of the most liked and engaged LinkedIn posts that I ever posted. And it's a story about Snapple. You know Snapple, the juice company. And I think they're an American company. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think they're from the Northeast.
Oh, okay. And basically they did something extremely clever that you will love, because this would be one of the ideas that, like, if you came to me with this idea, I'm like, yeah, this is typical Rishi's idea, right? So what they did was very clever. They needed to launch a new flavor, juice flavor, and it was a mango, right? So what they discovered through research was that a lot of people were basically like the mango juice was competing against the actual fruit. So some people would buy the fruit, some other people would actually buy the juice. And what happens is that they went to the Mango Grower Association. Okay. I think it's like a kind of like a, farmers association. And what they've done is they struck a deal with these guys where for over 10 million mangoes that they were selling in the US, I don't know in how many months or, and or weeks and so on, they struck this deal that they could add a small sticker of this size on the top of the mango. And again, 10 millions mango, Rishi, not like just peanuts, right? And what they said on the sticker was available on Snapple, right? And I thought this was a completely genius idea, because everybody complains about Facebook ads being extremely, extremely expensive. And it's the only form of, like, together with Google ads and so on, it's the only form of scalable marketing where, the more money you put in, the more output you get and so on. And here's Snapple coming with, we're talking about 10 million potential customers to go after, right? Pretty scalable and clever marketing strategy. What do you think about this?
I'll tell you one of the thoughts I just had right now, which is that this is actually the ultimate, what we're talking about essentially is kind of like a partnership, like a marketing partnership, right? Collaboration. And I think
Yep.
a lot of times when people think about collaboration, they do it wrong, because at the end of the day, one of the barriers to entry for collaboration is the friction for the person that you want to collaborate with you.
Mhm.
So what I think is really smart over here is that all fruits and vegetables in the US, they already have stickers. Like they put the brand sticker, right? So this association already has to stamp stickers. They basically are just changing that sticker for this one campaign. So it's very low friction for them, right? And so I love that aspect about it. If they had said, you don't put any stickers, but I want you to add a sticker for our campaign, they'd be like, fuck this, right? It makes no sense. So I think that's a very genius part of it as well. The other thing, what I think is really interesting, one of the questions that I have for you, Lorenzo, is that, I know about partnerships between companies that are totally unrelated. Like, for example, um, X Games, X Games and Red Bull, right? Or outdoor sports and Red Bull. Like when Red Bull sponsors a lot of outdoor sport events, because a lot of the athletes that are doing outdoor sports, they like to have Red Bull, and it's a perfect tie-in. This one is interesting, and I'd like to have your take on it, which is that if Snapple is selling a mango juice and the Association is selling mangoes, then in some ways, what is the psychology over here? And do you have any thoughts on like why they did it?
Yeah, I don't have the insights on, the details of the deal and so on. The number one goal, I'm just speculating here, but the number one goal of the Mango Grower Association is to sell the Mango brand much more, right? So for them, knowing that there's a big brand like Snapple that decides to make a mango juice and sell the mango juice, millions of mango juices across the US, I think helps the reputation and the brand of the mango overall. And potentially, again, I'm completely speculating here, maybe like when you're in front of like mango versus another fruit, if mango becomes more popular, and this is something like it would be interesting to see on like Google Trends, for example, right? How has the mango, I know, for example, the avocado has become extremely popular in the past like 10-15 years, right? um you know that's a great thing for the Avocado Grower Association, right? So that's my speculation right
I
here.
really like what you're saying, because I think that it's a really interesting long play, because you're absolutely right. I didn't even think about this. So the way the Mango Association is thinking about it is not necessarily purely in terms of direct mango sales, but it's actually the familiarity of the mango flavor. Because once consumers start craving the mango flavor, the way we crave mint flavor, the way we crave, different flavors, right? Then what happens is food companies are going to start injecting those flavors in foods and different things. And those flavors are referencing subconsciously mangoes. Like, flavor profile tastes like mango. Well, the people are like, oh, I really like this beverage, I should. So I think that's a really good, I think it's a really interesting, that's a really, really interesting point. And also a little trivia for people listening is that, sushi has become very popular in the US. I don't know how popular it is in Europe, but in the US it's become very popular over the last 20-30 years. But do you know that salmon is never used in sushi in Japan? And what happened was that there was a salmon manufacturer, or not manufacturer, but a salmon production company that introduced the idea of sushi in the US to increase the consumption of salmon. And so it's just, it's really interesting how you can, like, these are like, I consider these to be like ultimate baller plays. And I think this is where you make big money. I think a lot of us are so focused on transactional gains, we don't actually realize the benefit of, and I mean, there's so many wonderful stories about, cigarette brands, saying, get rid of eating sweets. You can quit sweets by smoking, and all of these different techniques. And I just think that they're really, really interesting.
So this reminds me, Rishi, of a riffing video that I'm gonna pitch here on this episode, okay? And if you guys like this idea, please just like tell us in the comments. So this reminds me of the famous campaign, I think the Burr, the diamond company did with the engagement rings, right? They needed to push the sale of diamonds, and they came up with this concept of like the engagement ring, right? Another one that I heard, I'm not too sure about the source of this. I just read it on Twitter like maybe a couple of weeks ago, was that apparently, and again, it might be a wrong source, so please, forgive me. Apparently, I heard somebody saying that Coke invented Santa Claus.
Oh, yes.
Because, did you know this?
Well,
Is
they
this
didn't invent Santa Claus, but they invented the association of Santa Claus with Christmas, like with Coke with Christmas, essentially.
exactly?
Yeah.
So here's the pitch for you guys that are listening. I think there must be so many different examples of exactly what I just said. Like somebody needed to push some type of product, and they became like super, like the engagement ring. Like now every single woman in the US and across the world, maybe in some countries less than others, they need to buy an engagement ring. They need to receive an engagement ring in order to get married as a tradition, right?
And it should be
So
diamond, right?
exactly. So I think it would be fun to do a video about here's 5 examples of products that needed to be pushed, that they became like household products because of this.
Well, just to add one more, and I think there are 10,000 stories, so I think we'll have enough for our episode. But I'll share one more related to the engagement ring. Is that one of the other problems that they had, because when they introduced the idea of engagement rings, it was such a new idea that men didn't know how much to spend. So they came up with this concept of at least 3 months salary or something, right? And I think that was such an interesting, clever idea of framing it, because people don't have a point of reference. And so I just think it was really clever. And I think there are I just purchased last week, I purchased a book on the Hershey company, Hershey chocolate company.
Yeah.
I love reading books about 100-year-old companies. I read the book about the Heinz company many years ago. I read the book about Wells Fargo, the bank company, because the stories, the origin stories for these companies is just incredible, and I just love reading it. So I'll share those insights when I finish my book. But there are so many interesting stories.
Yeah, and also, Rishi, if you think about this, we live in such a comfy world where we just go on Facebook, put together some creative and we start marketing, right? 50 years ago, it wasn't that easy. So whenever something is not easy, you need to be more creative about it, right? So for me, like learning about the level of creativity that these people had to have because they didn't have access to Facebook, Google, Pinterest, and Snap and so on. To me, it's super interesting because that's where the highest level of creativity comes out.
No, I totally agree, and I think there are so many stories. You guys, I know all of you know some interesting stories. Share some stories. Include a link for an article or something that talks about a story. We love collecting these kind of marketing stories because they're evergreen. They apply across industries. They apply across time. And so please share it. And if you like this episode, please go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. We will see you again very soon. Take care.
Thank you.